She's a junior in the American Sign Language Interpretation major here at VU, and her speech tonight is going to be about the importance of speaking up when peer pressure suggests that you're going to do so. So welcome, Kelsey.
Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people." When we hear peer pressure, so often we think of the scenarios we heard before, where our friends or just the people in our lives try to pressure us into doing the things we don't want to do or we know is wrong. And I think so often that is so thoroughly engraved into our brains, we think of that as a no-brainer. We know what peer pressure is. But in my life, I've found that there's another form of peer pressure so strong and subtle, I wonder if we even know it exists sometimes. And it's the pressure to stay silent.
Yes.
C.S. Lewis wrote once, "Spiteful words can hurt your feelings, but silence breaks your heart." We live in a society which breeds conformity. If anyone speaks out against a widely accepted belief or the individual idea, the person's shot down. This is true in politics, the workforce, classrooms, our roommates, our friends, our family. It happens all the time. And so we learn very early in life to be quiet, let the flow just continue, and if it's wrong, just don't take any part of it and you're okay. But Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Knowing what is right doesn't mean much unless you do what is right." Growing up, I was homeschooled, and one of the universal agreements with homeschoolers is twofold. First off, we're weird. You know that's true. Second off, we get bullied. It just goes with the territory. It's our lot in life. We've accepted it, and we know we're awesome anyway. And every Friday growing up, we went to a homeschooling co-op where all the other homeschoolers came together and we had our classes, and it was great. And you know you're at the bottom of the totem pole and the food chain when you're the homeschooler who gets picked on by the other homeschoolers? Yeah. And my favorite class was Latin because that was the one place I wasn't bothered. And the reason I wasn't is another boy was. His name was Nate, and like me, he was interesting. And every single Friday, I don't know how this boy came to class, because the other kids gave him no end of grief. And I kept quiet for the most part, because this was middle school. If any girl ever dared to speak on behalf of a boy, you know what would happen. Goes, "Oh, you're going to get married, aren't you?" And this was my one safe place. I didn't want to jeopardize that. This was my place. He could defend himself, thank you very much. And these were my friends. These were my best friends who were saying these things. I couldn't speak against them, could I? And I left unsaid what should have been said for many, many months, until the springtime. One day, Nate wasn't at class. His family went on vacation in March. It's one of the perks of being homeschooled. And in his absence, all these kids, my best friends, were ripping this boy apart. It was vile. And sat there for a few minutes, and then finally said, "You know what? No, enough is enough." And I turned to my friends and said, "Leave Nate alone. This isn't cool." And every single fear I had became a reality. They turned on me, "Oh, you want to get married to him, cooties, you're going to get kids and all this stuff." And I'm like, that's not the deal. I've been bullied. I didn't like it. I really wish I had said that months before, because they never said a word against me again. When I was quiet, I let these things happen to this boy. We weren't friends, but I knew that was wrong. But I figured since I wasn't teasing him most of the time, I was okay. I was neutral. But Holocaust survival Elie Wiesel said, "We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented." And Desmond Tutu, Nobel Peace Prize winner, said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. And we're in situations like this every day. This was a situation where I was peer pressured to silence by my best friends. And I think that's where it happens most of the time. It manifests itself in gossip. I mean, heaven forbid we get labeled judgmental for saying that something is wrong. And that isn't scary. It takes courage to be able to say to the people you're closest to, no, this isn't okay. And no one really exercises this courage in my life more than my younger brother, Peter. He was homeschooled with me, and he got his fair share of bullying, and he's someone who not only had my back, but he has always had the back of every single person who would be considered defenseless. A few years ago, there was a boy who was in the same peer group as us, who was also kind of interesting, and I sort of took him under my wing as a little brother figure, and then I graduated high school and I had to go. And about a year later, I was on Facebook, just going through pictures, and there was a picture of our group, and underneath the picture were about a dozen to 20 comments from people who never would have said these things out loud. Instead, they displayed these vicious statements about this boy to the internet. And I'm scrolling down. These are good friends who I've grown up with, and I'm getting myself, I'm going to say something when someone beat me to it. It was my brother, who before the internet, before the world, and before every single friend he ever had in his life, said, "Stop it! Leave him alone. This is not cool. He is ours." And that was singularly the most noble act of courage I've seen in my life. Silence didn't help me. Silence sure as heck didn't help Sam. It wasn't until two people who were very scared said, "No, this is not okay, and I know I'm probably going to get all sorts of grief, but my discomfort is not worth holding my tongue when something desperately has to be said." It's scary, but you've got to find that courage. I'll close with two quotes which I think would stand well for all of us. First is by Maggie Kuhn, an author, which is, "Speak your mind, even if your voice shakes." And then, this is my own. It's, bravery doesn't have a place in the world without risk. It's in the face of fear that you find courage to do what's right.